The Orion is an incredible pickup for our Mercenary company, Commander. Its ability to cover the anti-aircraft role is an often overlooked feature that opens up many opportunities for hard-hitting lance compositions. Let's go over everything you need to know about the Orion in BattleTech Classic and how to use it to its maximum potential. After that, I'll show you an experimental design that even assault mechs will fear going up against. Production year 2525, Star League era. Name Orion, ON1-K. Weight 75 tons. Faction All Inner Sphere. Role Brawler. Famous for being the favored weapon of Alexander Krensky himself, the Orion's Kaliyama Deathbloom LRM-15 launcher and Kaliyama Class 10 autocannon give the mech respectable damage at range. Then, when the fight closes to a brawl, the Orion can bring its Irian Weapons Works Class 4 SRM launcher and 2 medium lasers to bear. Availability-wise, the mech appears to make up between 2.5% and 17% of all heavy mechs deployed by the Great Houses. It was mass-produced during the Star League era, and is on top of that rugged and easy to maintain. This ensured the Orion survived well into the Succession Wars, despite being produced out of only a single factory in Kalidesa in modern times. Offensively, the Orion shares identical speed, range brackets, and role as the Thunderbolt, making these mechs at first glance direct competitors with each other. There are, however, some key differences, Commander. Analysis shows that while damage is nearly identical at long and medium range, when the fight closes to a brawl, the low heat of the Orion's AC-10 allows it to be fired repeatedly. This results in higher penetration and damage than the Thunderbolt, who must choose between a piercing mode or a damage mode because of its high heat large laser. One of the biggest reasons for taking the Orion over the Thunderbolt, however, is the Orion's advanced targeting computer. This allows the Orion to lock onto enemy aircraft nearly as well as the dedicated anti-aircraft mech, the Rifleman. If we're willing to have slightly worse defense against aircraft, Commander, a mercenary company like ours can replace the anti-aircraft mech in our company from the flimsy Rifleman with a durable Orion. While not as good as the Rifleman fighting aircraft, it can potentially get the job done well enough. Despite this incredibly useful characteristic, there are also a few key drawbacks. Defensively, while the Orion is 14.5 tons of armor, which is nearly as much as an Awesome's, it's flawed at the structural level. The Orion has a 43% chance of ammunition explosion on the left torso, and a 22% chance of ammunition explosion on the right torso. Unlike the Thunderbolt, who can eject its ammunition and still perform reasonably well in a brawl, the Orion must retain its AC-10 ammo in order to be effective. This makes the Orion inferior defensively to the Thunderbolt. In lance compositions, my suggestion would be to put the Orion in our more expensive command lances. There, the Orion can fill the frontline brawler role like a Thunderbolt, but also cover the anti-aircraft role that a Rifleman traditionally fills. Using the Orion to cover 2 jobs will clear a mech cubicle on our dropship so our company can take a real heavy hitter, like an Awesome. While I have yet to analyze all the heavy mechs available to us, Commander, I feel I can rate the Orion an A-tier mech as an initial grade. While it does have some defensive issues, its self-sufficient offense and anti-aircraft quirk make it hard to pass up. When considering variants, the original K design is the best available during the Succession War. While impossible to recreate, I've included Alexander Krensky's personally customized Orion here as an interesting piece of Star League history. For his custom mech, Krensky replaced the LRM-15 with a stub-nose PPC for extra piercing and upgraded the AC-10 to a Gauss rifle. An Artemis SRM-4 helps with targeting, and double heatsinks keep the mech cold. While the equipment we have available to us will never again be as good as the Star League stuff, I think the MechTechs and I have created a design that even a Succession War era assault will fear going up against. But first, let's go over how to pilot the original Orion to its maximum potential. The Orion is a flexible frontline mech that can play around its lance's composition. It's very good at a short-range brawl, but has decent longer-range weapons to use if its commander wants to fight around that range bracket. As mechs are entering the battlefield, the Orion should be activated in the middle or late in the initiative. As a frontline brawler, its placement will often determine where the main battle will take place, and its relative slowness will make it difficult to reposition. Faster mechs should be placed first, to make it difficult for the enemy to guess our actual intention. As a frontline mech, the Orion should position itself between enemy brawlers and the friendly long-range mechs it wants to protect. The position should have cover and a clear line of sight to the enemy. As the fight opens at long and medium range, Orion pilots should fire off their LRM-15 and AC-10 at nearly every opportunity. It has more than enough ammunition for a single battle, and by getting rid of the ammunition early, it reduces the chance of an explosion later. Once in position, it can also use its medium laser, or SRM-4, for additional damage. Sometime before the Orion enters brawl range, that is, 6 hexes or less, the pilot should decide if they're going to dump ammunition. This will raise the Orion's defense at the cost of some offense. Dumping the LRM ammunition is generally a good idea if the Orion expects a difficult fight. Pilots can also dump their SRM ammunition if it has 10 or less armor in the left torso, but should only dump their AC-10 ammunition in a desperate circumstance. The offensive power of the Orion will drop very low if it loses use of the AC-10. Once inside 6Xs, pilots should slowly push their heat to 12 over time to maximize their sustained damage. Pilots can moderate their heat by choosing when to fire the additional medium laser or SRM-4. To finish off their opponents, the Orion may want to perform a charge if it can move 3 hexes or more. This will do 26 to 43 damage and potentially knock the enemy mech over. If this information was helpful to you, Commander, please subscribe to this channel for more tactical insights. Now let's go over to the mech bay and I'll show you a simple refit that turns the Orion into a dedicated mech killer. We're designating this experimental Orion ON1/X1 and naming it Knockout. We're removing the AC-10, SRM-4, and a ton of armor to make room for an AC-20 and 2 small lasers. The refit is a pricey 344,000 C-bills, or 5.16% of the mech's total cost. It's a 15-day, Class C facility refit, meaning we can get it done in a transport bay, field workshop, or mobile field base. The refit turns the Orion into a ferocious brawler that even assault mechs will not want to push up into. The Knockout's AC-20 can easily punch a hole that its lancemates can then follow up on, and the Knockout's LRM-15 lets it contribute to a fight if its unit wants to hang back for a time. The trade-off is that the Knockout can no longer replace the Rifleman in the anti-aircraft role. This variant should be placed in the more traditional battle line lance, rather than the command lance that the original V variant does. Yeah,